destigmatize sex work in the industry through the humanization of sex workers through education. That is the exact mission that I've had since day one.
Welcome back to Muse on the Mic. I'm Riley.
And I'm Emily. Thanks again, guys, for joining us on another exciting episode of Muse on the Mic. This is a super special one. We've got a guest on the show who is fantastic. But before we jump in, like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share. This one is so share worthy. It is going to be super juicy. So much information. Riley, tell everybody what we're doing today.
We have a very special guest coming on the show. She is fascinating. She has a super successful podcast. Her name is Steph Sia, host of the award-winning podcast Stripped By Sia. And I'd love to list all the things she does, but it's a long list, guys. But she is an entrepreneur. She is a former sex worker or current sex worker. We'll have to clarify. And she is all about smashing stigma, which we are on board for. So we are excited to chat with her.
So much. There are so many questions I've got for this woman. It's just like, I feel like a sponge. I just want to know so much more about every aspect of her life. She has been a guest speaker at different universities. She's an AVN, which is Adult Videos, award-winning podcast host. She's been all over the world teaching and speaking about smashing stigma and changing legalities about sex work law and just empowering people left and right. Check out her podcast. You can find it on all platforms you'll find podcasts, including YouTube, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera. It is such a good listen. It is so interesting. She's also got the sweetest laugh. I was like, I'm addicted to this girl. We've been following each other for a long time on Twitter, and I'm so excited to finally have her on the show. I cannot say enough good things about this awesome babe, dancer extraordinaire, content creator, and really badass woman altogether. Yeah. I love hearing stories of sex workers that smash all the ceilings, break all the molds, make entire careers in many different branches from sex work and embracing the industry instead of running from it. And it takes balls, as we know, to go face forward and out to the open to publicly talk about it. And she does not shy away on her show from tackling some hard hitting topics. And I love that. I'm so excited.
She is definitely capitalizing and her hustle is smart. I'm so intrigued by her. So let's bring her in.
I love it. I'm so excited.
Sia, welcome to Muse on the Mic. We are so happy to have you. Thank you for joining us. And we have so many questions.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for making time. And like longtime followers, I feel mutually it's going both ways. So it's like nice to put a face to the name and also just, shoot the shit today. And I hope I can swear. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Yes. No, you can swear. I think for those that aren't or don't know about you, if you can give us just some background and kind of how you got into podcasting, sex work, and a bit about your journey.
Yeah, those are two big questions. I mean, we'll talk about, I think maybe we'll go chronologically. We'll go in terms of like how I got started into sex work. That was a long time ago. That was over a decade ago when I was very young, and I recently got out of a relationship, and my roommate at the time was like, you look sad, you need ego boost. Instead of just going on these Tinder dates, why don't you just go on seeking arrangement and get paid to go on dates? So my intro was being a sugar baby, and that was like long before I even knew what the adult industry really was, what sex work was. I was just like very green, very naive, and I was like, yeah, I will go get paid to go on dates and make money off of it. And no one really told me like, oh yeah, there's like sex involved. Like that was really young. So that was an interesting time for sure. And I did a few years of sugaring, and then I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. And then I was kind of dipping my toes into stripping. So I started off doing stripping for, I guess, like up until present. I'm still kind of like semi-retired, but still kind of dancing here in Vancouver. Okay. And then also like during that time, I want to say 2019. That's when I started with like the paid subscription platforms, like OnlyFans, and then kind of going into camming and fetish work in the most like recent years, like I would say like 3 or 4 years ago now. So that's kind of myself in a nutshell. So if you didn't understand that, all around sex worker, adult creator, cam model, and podcast host, because you also asked about podcast. Yeah. I started my podcast, Stripped by Sia, back in 2019. And that was, I was dancing at the club and I was talking with some of the regulars and some of the clients, like as you do when you're trying to sell dances. And one of the clients I was talking to, they were just like, oh, like you guys, dancers are amazing. You guys all have like tens and thousands of followers and you guys are like kind of like influencers and you guys have so many interesting stories. And that goes beyond you just dancing on stage. I'm like, yeah, we do have a lot of stories to tell, and it goes beyond the work that you see here in the club. And it was just like a light bulb moment, because as an avid podcaster, like I like to consume a lot of podcasts. I was like, oh yeah, I will want to start one. So at that moment, the idea for Stripped by Sia was born, and then literally 2 weeks after that, I launched my first episode. So
well done.
Yeah. It's been a while.
That's awesome. I love the diversity, and the journey is so interesting. I mean, I think every worker has such a cool story of how they got from A to B, usually to C to D to E after that. Totally. But that journey is so fascinating to me, because as much as they're very different, there's so many commonalities. And even the way you just described jumping into the podcast, we had the same kind of light bulb moment, and we already were kind of face forward. Not initially by choice. We were outed years ago. But we kind of embraced it once we were. And then we were like, wait a minute, we have so much shit to talk about. We have stories to tell, and owning a business is very different. I worked in the business for a long time too, always massage parlors. But there's a lot of stories to tell. So we've enjoyed kind of having a microphone and people to talk to about it. So I love hearing all of that. That's so fascinating. It's such a cool journey. Fellow Canadian, I love all the girl power here. And someone that makes sex work into a full career. I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely been a journey for sure.
Very cool. Very cool. So I wanted to know maybe a few stories that you could tell from your experience through your years kind of working with customers. I'm wondering if you have like a most memorable client that really stands out of your mind and like, this guy really kind of changed my life, or was the worst thing that ever happened, or, made my day or taught me all these things. Like I learned so much from clients. So I'm absolutely positive there's at least a few. So let me know what that kind of stands out to you.
Yeah, there are definitely a few that stand out for sure. And I honestly, like, I think it was one of the longest sugar daddies I had way back in the day really taught me about my own personal boundaries and my own like mental sanity when it comes to sex work. So I was doing this for, I guess, like, a couple of years at this point, and I was enjoying myself. I had, traveled the world with him and some others, and got to experience some really unique, like opportunities and experiences, around the world and stuff. And that was really great. But then I think it was kind of chipping away at my sanity. I don't know how else to say it, but I was just kind of like battling with myself, because it was a lot of like, I wasn't really truly there anymore, if that makes any sense. When you just kind of
does.
Like it just kind of starts chipping away at you, and then you feel like you're losing yourself, which I felt like I lost myself a little bit and was compromising a lot. So I definitely remember questioning a lot of things, because it was a very complicated situation. And I was like, in the last like year, I was like living with him, and then there was a whole thing. And then I was like, I'm not really getting enough money out of this anymore. And like, it just wasn't serving me anymore. So it really, it was really not a great situation to be in, but also taught me a lot. Like, you still need to be true to yourself in this business. As much as we want to separate our real life persona and like our sex work persona, whatever the alias is, like it is so important to honor your true self, and it's not worth all the money in the end.
Agreed. Completely. I think we both, Riley and I, have had times where we've wanted to distance ourselves, even just from our work name. Like
Mhm.
when I used to work, it was 4 times a week. I had to be Emily, right? And then social media came along. And then once I retired, then I became a business owner and owned an adult business. So I had to be Emily every single day. Like we get Christmas Day off and New Year's Day off, and that's it. And sometimes you freak out because you're like, I'm so sick of this blend. I'm so sick of being called Emily every day. Like, talk to me with my
Yeah.
real name. Like it can really make you, like you said, feel like you're losing yourself a little bit. And on
Mhm.
our end, business still happens every day. We can't just like take a day off or call in sick that day. And so you kind of be a little bit rebellious in the sense that like you find new boundaries on when you shut off your phone at night or on during what hours of the day you're going to handle things and be in that business persona and like take that hat off at certain points too. It's a tough balance, but I think it's important for especially sex workers' mental health. Actors lose themselves in roles sometimes too. So it's no
Yes.
different, right? You got to know those priorities and those boundaries. What a beautiful lesson he gave you. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. And we're still like, I don't know if like if anyone has this experience too, but like we actually, remained friends after all these years. So that's like really nice. And usually I just cut things off, but I don't know. I was with
I
him for a
love
long
that.
time.
I'm
So
still
yeah,
friends
it
with
was
some of my
cool.
clients too.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really interesting like boundary to cross, but I
Yeah.
felt like really safe with him, and it was overall, like looking back, it was an overall good experience with that
Sure.
one.
That's awesome. You know what? A lot of
Well,
them, they're all interesting characters, right? So
mhm.
I get it. Stay friends. Naked friends.
Yes, definitely. And I mean,
Well, you
you were.
mentioned discovering your boundaries through this client. So how now, years later, do you maintain that work life or work personal balance?
Yeah, that is, it's more strict nowadays, actually.
Good.
And yeah, I have more boundaries now and like, cutoff times when I'm like working and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
think, when I was younger, and maybe some people listening might agree with me or can resonate with this, but I just feel like I was so influenced by the dangling of like money or gifts or trips or whatever it is under the sun, whatever you negotiated in your agreement. Like it was, I was so tempted, and like the money, it was just so close, and I
Yeah.
would give up myself a little bit too, and cross my own boundaries because of that dangling, because of
Yeah.
money. Because I didn't have a lot of money back then, so it was like I want money and I want these things and I want this lifestyle and I want like this status and the affluence. So that was really a dance to dance with over those years, especially in those beginning years. But now trying to really balance like work life balance and exercising my boundaries and saying no, and honestly has come a lot to me so much easier now that I have more experience in the game. Honestly, I've learned so much from all of my past guests that I've brought onto the show that have really helped me build the confidence to say no firmly and stick with it and not feel bad and not feel guilt tripped by people and not feel
Yes.
baited by clients or fans or whoever to do things I don't want to freaking do. So,
Yeah.
I'm really, really happy I've gotten to that point. And, it does come with a place of privilege to be able to say no and to be in the
Yes.
position to say no. So I will say that, it's taken me a long time to get here, but that's one thing that I really try to exercise, and also with like my time management skills in terms of your question in terms of like really trying to balance that work life balance. Like, how do you do that?
Mhm.
I think trying to divide my work up in a way that makes sense to me. So myself, I have a partner who works a very normal, like 9 to 5 vanilla life. For me, I also like to shut off my work at like 5 p.m. and like shut the laptop, turn off my calls, and not be available because I really want to be able to ensure that I'm giving time to my partner and time for myself and like go work out and go hang out with friends and be myself. Steph Sia outside of my work and not be Sia on camera or Kimchi, which
Right.
is my stage name, my other stage name. So it's like really trying to know what that line is and really try to honor that. And I think that's something that we owe ourselves is to, you owe it to yourselves to give yourself a freaking break and to treat yourself and be a human outside of this work. Because this work can be really tiring and taxing and all the things. So it's a lot.
Very
Very
true,
much so.
physically and mentally.
It's funny how long it can take us all to learn that, right? But it's like you have to go through the worst of it to get to the point of being forceful with your boundaries. And once you get comfortable with that, it's almost like you don't feel forceful about it. It's just a not negotiable at that
Yeah,
point. Like I'm too old.
definitely.
I've done the overworking. I've done the feeling guilty. At some point, you just got to kind of put your own foot down and been like, no, after for you, it's 5 o'clock. Whatever time that works. Like at some point, you have to make sure that you do stick to those boundaries you set, and that's a life skill. I love that.
Yeah, it's really
That's cool.
important.
Definitely. You know what? One of the things I've really enjoyed most, we've been taking in a bunch of your content over the past like couple weeks, and I love how much you love to smash stigma. And given the current situations in the world, I have a couple questions for you about legalities and just the rights of sex workers to exist. I'm wondering what some of your main concerns are for the future, and also what you're most excited about, because it's dicey out there, even in our country, even in, south of the border and beyond across the world, right? So I'm very curious about your take on what's ahead.
Honestly, it's a little scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
I nervous laughter there, but yeah, it's a little bit
Right.
scary for sure. So like, for those who are listening, like I'm Canadian, we're all Canadian here.
Hmm.
It's kind of trending. I mean, I would say the world in general is really trending towards a conservative right-wing approach, which is like tough on crime, tough on sex work laws, taking away sex worker rights. We don't really know how many rights to
Hmm.
begin with,
Right.
so yeah, it's a little bit of a scary time right now. And like, especially in Canada with like the upcoming like election coming up and that again trending towards once again another conservative government. Like I just hate to say it, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going to happen at the end of the year. Yeah, that's the elephant in the room right now, and we're already kind of seeing that in
Right.
the States right
It is.
now too. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit overwhelming because I just don't know like what I mean. I know what it means for sex workers. It means like they will continue to try to eliminate us and continue to push our work underground with the laws that are currently in place and that have been in place since 2014, since the last conservative government when Harper was
Yep.
in
Yeah.
power. So it makes me a little, honestly, like my stomach just felt really sick just speaking about that. And it will make our lives harder and more difficult for us to exist and continue to push us into more precarious situations. So I'm curious to see how that will unfold. I am again trying to remain positive, but it's hard to when you are met with this kind of landscape and this atmosphere that we can see, and it's like a storm impending. Like you can see it happen, you can see it in the distance, and you're just like, oh, what the hell now? And how do we protect ourselves? And I just don't know what the answer to that question is.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's so true. It's kind of strange to see. I've been saying to people, I'm big into politics. Riley, not so much. I keep her updated on some things. But we were both very involved in the law changes in 2014. And since then, it plugged me in even more to politics. I've always kind of been fascinated by it, but it kind of got me a little like OCD about it.
Mhm.
And I find right now, for the past, I don't know, probably 10 years, America's been a good predictor of what's coming here a few years later, right?
Mhm.
And we can all see the hellscape that is Twitter. We can all see the difference with that in like a blue sky environment. But yet, our media, the general public, pundits, and everybody else have kind of still not wrapped their brain around how to talk about what's happening, to stop giving attention to the Easter egg and the shiny ball and the what crazy thing so and so said today, and focusing on the stuff, or really dismantling all the fake news. And if you're on like Twitter, for example, and I'd say especially, it seems like everyone is going to the right, and it's just bombardment left and right. And yet at the same time, Twitter isn't actually everything. And Twitter has a bot problem. It has a Russian account problem. It has a lot of fake account issues. And a lot of that is still happening. And yet it's been happening since what, 2008? We've been watching this occur, and no one's stopping it. No one's got a counter plan to attack it. And it's bleeding here into what we call what, Maple MAGA now. Like, it's getting
Mhm.
bigger and bigger. And like you said about the storm, and you can see it brewing in the distance. And I believe the same. I really hope we don't go to a conservative government. But if the tides continue how they are, that is where we're going to be. And that's just dangerous for our whole industry. It's absolutely petrifying, if you ask me.
Yeah,
I hate it.
it's really scary and unsettling for sure. I mean, if there are positive things that we can look towards, I don't know if there's anything positive in terms of like legalities, to be honest. Not that I know of, at least. Especially in the Canadian context. I don't know if there's anything like in that front that I would look forward to, but I'm kind of like on a different vein, like looking forward to like, what AI has to offer us sex
Mm.
workers and how we can utilize that further our business. And I'm just kind of interested in technology in general. So I'm just like, like I'm always curious to see like what kind of new and emerging things and apps
Right.
and stuff are coming out to make our lives easier. So that's one positive thing to to look forward to, in my opinion.
I love that.
Sure.
And it's true. It's going to change everything I think, for our industry. And I think all aspects of it, whether it's in person, whether it's country to country, whether it's online, I think it's going to literally change so much. To the point, Riley and I already have some ideas, some plans we've been dabbling with. So like
Ooh.
it's strange and it's new and it's a little scary, but as we just spoke about, so is the past decades. Strap in, buckle up, and like you said, learn some things about it, because it's coming, whether we like it or not. It's going to be here. So I think it would be so positive for sex workers and the industry as a whole to be on the front lines of it, and to kind of be the ones coming out with the innovation. I mean, it was us and really the porn industry that transformed the internet once it launched. Of all of the divisions of society that exploded, it certainly was pornography, and made it accessible. You didn't have to buy it at a convenience store on the top shelf anymore. You could just go find it yourself. And I'm so curious to see what's going to happen with AI, with the whole concept of AI people and personalities, VR sensations. There's so much
Mm.
there that is just absolutely curious to me, let alone the back end, the business side, all the other like stuff that we do on a daily basis, no matter what part of sex work you're in. The desk work is
I hate the
anything takes the
admin.
load off.
Yeah, like anything that can make my life easier and like, or at least like cut that time in half in terms of like the boring. It is boring, honestly, to like
Yes.
do all that stuff to set us up for success. I mean, I'm game for anything that makes it like even like 25% faster. I'll take it.
I agree. I think some of the benefits that might stem from that, and maybe even some of the political challenges, is I think if there is a silver lining, it might make elements or genres of the industry come closer together. I think sometimes there can be an interstigma as well. I've known, strippers that hate escorts, and escorts that hate massage girls, and rub and tugs that
Yes.
hate strip clubs because they sell liquor and we sell hand jobs. Like, there's a lot of competitiveness, some judgment that can happen. And really, we're all on the same side, especially when it comes to the law, safety, all those kind of aspects that if it brings more associations together, more communities together, if we're able to finally protest on the street publicly and like do some of those things that really can force change, it's the only way we're going to get public support. And that's the only way to make, political change is volume these days.
Mhm.
So I'm hopeful that people get angry enough. And yet, if they get angry enough, they'd vote different. So, like, who's to say? But I really hope by the time this cycle or era of politics and who knows what's changing kind of settles, that at least we've built more community, more connections, maybe more understanding with the public,
Mhm.
and with lawmakers as well, law enforcement, all of them,
Yeah,
literally, all of
me
those fuckers.
too. That's definitely that's definitely a hope for sure. And like, to talk about like the whorephobia and to address that, yeah, that is definitely something that absolutely exists. And that's something that I even, had held when I first started as a sugar baby. I'm not one of those girls. I'm like, yeah, you
Right.
are. Yeah, you definitely are, ho. Like you it's disappointing to me to hear so many folks like within our industry from different corners battling themselves or like being in denial, denouncing other folks, doxing other folks, like sex workers doxing other sex workers. What the hell is that about? Like, there's so much wrong in that. I just really would believe that we would come together in solidarity to fight the bigger problems that we have. Everything that you addressed earlier, when it comes to politics and legalities, like I would hope that we are at least on the same page about that. So, I mean, pushing our differences aside, understanding that the work we do is very intimate, it's very human, it's erotic, it's all these things. But at the end of the day, it is a job that we are all choosing to do. And, we do it for different reasons. But, hopefully we can, fight together for our rights and
It's
also
true.
for what's
It's
best,
about time.
right?
It's so true. Ugh.
Oh, no.
Catch
I
myself
love you.
accidentally doing gay stuff. It's just also a part of my life. You know what I mean?
See?
I can be doing something objectively not gay and be like, okay, so fellas, you ever been in the middle of eating pussy and you realize you're on all fours with your ass in the air? Don't pull away from me now, guys. Do not pull away from me now. I'm not the only one. I know it. I'm not the only one who's like, who's my back arch for? What the fuck is going on? All right, I didn't know I was that flexible. You know what I mean? Some women laughing too. I like that. Women who have looked down at what they thought was a man with his cheeks spread wide open in the air. Love that.
So good.
Wow, sex is hideous sometimes, eh?
Can be.
Colour of your
These are
lips
so good.
is the same colour as your bellend because it's the same skin. Train journeys haven't been the same since.
That is not right.
I tell you now, every single person that you meet in the next week, that's male.
Well, I'm going to double check that.
Yeah, stop looking at my lips.
You're craving something a little extra, aren't you? Subscribe to our Patreon and enjoy the ride.
Well, my next question for you, Sia, because I'm not a political girly, so what's your main mission with being face forward and outspoken about sex work?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's been the same since ever I started like my podcast back in 2019. It's to really destigmatize the industry. That has been my mission since day one, like literally to destigmatize sex work. And I've kind of expanded on that. I've destigmatized sex work in the industry through the humanization of sex workers through education. That is the exact mission that I've had since day one, because one, our work is like obviously highly stigmatized. There are so many negative stereotypes that come along with our work. It's highly misunderstood. The media has like, XYZ things to say about it, but they get it grossly wrong a lot of the time. So Yes, like I just want to be able to, put a face. I mean, I can put my face out there. Not everyone can do that, but to put a face to the name, put a story to all of these workers that are out there, to again humanize the folks that are in this industry. We are not just blow up sex doll people that are like fuck toys. We are people that have families. We have partners. We came from people. Like, I think it's really important for us to not forget how human this job is, and to really educate folks, that are one in our industry, because there's always something to learn, but also even bigger than that is to educate those who are not familiar with our work. And I think change can really stem from that when we do start to take a step back and understand the work that it is that we do in a non biased way and not sensationalized or glamorized way.
Well, I think you do such a fantastic job of doing that, because being face forward, putting yourself out there, sharing your story, and also just having the plethora of guests that you've had on your show really, I think, normalizes and brings the attention to sex work that it really deserves. So well done.
I agree.
Thank you. I super appreciate that. And I think it's just important to, give people in our industry, our peers, a platform, because not everyone has the ability to do that. And again, just to, have a day in the life and know what it's like to be in this person's shoes and what it's like to be in this corner of the industry, and to really share perspective and hopefully open people's minds. That's basically what it's all about.
And it's such an interesting life. And I think that's what we've enjoyed sharing so much on our podcast, is stuff that's everyday normal to us is really interesting to other people. And I think, like, you having all that kind of variety of guests on your show, that it's so entertaining to others. I mean, in a very like educational way, but just in entertainment. It's fascinating to listen to.
Thank you so much. I'm glad that you, one, can hopefully learn something, and two, get some good nuggets and takeaways from each episode. Because like the last thing I want to do, and this is coming out on an episode later on with Laura Desiree, we talk about, we're kind of sick and tired of hearing about these adult podcasts that use the guests to just sensationalize content and like for virality and just content farms. Like, it's just so exhausting, and they have such a massive platform. I just wish they can have some better messaging out there instead of just like using whatever weird clip that they want to sensationalize, and then that's just like forever the label that this person's going to have, or just like that's the only lens that people can see sex workers as. And like, we're so much more than that. So I'm just hoping that people can definitely learn a thing or two from shows like this and shows like mine. So, and thank you for doing all that you do as well in the industry too.
Thank you. No, I agree with what you mean about the glamorizing, because it almost comes across as like recruitment propaganda material. And listen, I'm happy for anyone that wants to get in the industry, but I don't think that's something you need to like sit there and fly a banner overhead about, right? And when it looks too shiny and sparkly, I mean, that's the whole Hollywood illusion, right? It's what we hate about so many movies about sex work, and just the demeaning little, like, not everyone's Pretty Woman. Like, stop it. Stop it all together. And it can get people a little caught. And I would hate for young women, especially when you're green. I remember being absolutely 19 and terrified. It's so scary and it's so unknown. And it's not like an apprenticeship or like a course you can take first. It's trial by error. And trial by error when you're naked is just so potentially dangerous. And I hate that so many workers have learned through the hardest of situations to get to the point where they now have those boundaries or know what their price point should be or have security measures in place. Like, it shouldn't take awful experiences to get that. And the more you're just kind of funneling people thinking it's just going to be sex, drugs, money, and rock and roll, it's so disillusioning, especially to younger women, younger people entering the industry, whether it's online or in person. I think the safety risks may not be the same, but they're very equal. And nobody really thinks about that ahead of time. It takes, honestly, bad experiences or a mentor, someone who can step in, and if they're smart, listening to a podcast. But we offer training for our staff for that purpose. Even though we're licensed and there's rules and like local legal stuff that the city of Toronto instills, nobody really teaches you what to do in a situation with an aggressive client, or what do you do if someone has something that looks visibly like an STI, or what do you do about hygiene issues? Like, there's just so many nuances that the more sex workers, especially if you're comfortable being out in the open, can talk about it, it's giving forward not just the right messaging, but useful educational information that they could take and better their career, reduce their risks. And if they want to make it a glamorous job, then choose that avenue, but don't go in so like unexpectedly naive that you think it's all just going to be fun and games. And then the worst day of your life is going to happen. Like, it makes me more nervous than anything. And I just always think about people that are new and green to the industry. It terrifies me, to be honest.
Yes. Yes. It terrifies me
Scary.
too, because I was that sugar baby back in the day, and had some really not so nice things happen to me and taken advantage of. And you know what? Fast forward today, I still I got freaking scammed a few years ago too, and it was just a rookie mistake. I'm like, seriously, this has happened to me, and I've been in the industry for so long. Like, how did this happen to me? But there's always something to learn. There should always be something you can kind of take away from these conversations, and that's why we kind of need to continue having more and more of these conversations, because honestly, it's just to combat all the fluff that is out there that is honestly quite misleading and puts people in danger, which I'm scared about. So
Definitely. The scammers are fierce lately too.
they are.
They get creative, man.
They sure do.
It's really frustrating. And yet we can't get rid of those guys on platforms. And yet we're censored like crazy. And that leads me to my next kind of point of inquiry. I'm wondering, as especially your online journey has continued, and including the podcast, have you run into problems with platform censorship, accounts being banned, shadow bans, flagged, competitors, all kinds of nonsense that can happen in like the dark side, the back end of social media, really?
Oh my gosh. Honestly, all of the above. It sucks. Are you even a sex worker who haven't gotten suspended, banned?
Yeah, we're all like same.
Yeah, so it sucks. It really does suck. Like, I remember a few years ago now, my Instagram account got suspended for no reason. I wasn't able to log back in or dispute it. And at that point, I was using my Instagram a lot to promote the episode. So it was like, well, here we go. Okay, it's happened. And then, right now I'm on YouTube too. It just automatically uploads to my YouTube account, and constantly getting flagged and having to go through the YouTube training in terms of what's against their terms and services. And I have to be more mindful about how I'm tagging things and how I'm even writing out certain words, why those are blocked and stuff, and why that I'm continuing to get flagged. And it's really, you have to be so active and on top of things, and it can be really, really tiring in order to protect yourself online. On the other flip side of things, like as a creator, battling a lot of the scamming people and baiting people, that has been challenging for sure. It is really exhausting. I got one of my streaming accounts suspended last year, and that was absolutely devastating because it was a big source of my income. I was ranking on the contest boards. I was just like, it was contest.
Oh, fuck.
It was really disappointing. And then having to beg to get my account back and pull all the strings, thankfully to people I know in the industry, but imagine all the people that this might have affected that don't have those connections. It was really shitty. So, I'm just trying to be more careful right now. And it's really, you really got to read the terms and services. You got to read the model code of conduct daily, because there's things that even they're adding to the list that I'm not aware of, and I just want to make sure I'm on top of things. And if I'm being asked to do things, one, that are against my boundaries, but two, it sounds like it might be against conduct, then I just politely say no. And again, it goes back to the not being guilt tripped and just being safe rather than sorry, because once I did lose my streaming account like last year, it was such a learning lesson because, that is income. That is like
Right.
losing a job. So I take it very, very seriously. And now I'll just report the people, block if needed, or just say no to protect myself because there's just so much risk out there. And you have to really just take care of yourself, secure the bag, but also like really protect the bag too. So
Right.
it's
Secured
a
in so
dance.
many ways.
Yeah, secured in so many ways.
We've had the same thing. That YouTube like education class is actually hilarious. It's so
It's a
stupid.
joke.
It's
I
training shit.
hate
I'm like,
that.
what is this? Like, do you need me to write an essay too? Like, stop it.
It's terrible.
It's so stupid, but we've lost major accounts before too, and it's been absolutely devastating. To this day, I still can't get our spa's Twitter account back. And Twitter, of all places, you can be a
Right?
raging Nazi, but you can't own a licensed business, apparently. It's like so bizarre, but the hit is it's the money, trust me, but it's also the time invested and like I cried my eyes out. I couldn't believe it. It was my blood, sweat, and tears put in for so long. We'd had our account for like what 12 years, and you can't buy back that organic growth. You can't re-find all those followers that ideally end up real life customers, right? And so how do you fill that void in a scramble? Even making a new account doesn't fix everything. It's chaos, and it's so devastating. It's so devastating to people's livelihood. It's beyond me to understand, but you're right. You need the right connections. You need to be like, you almost get a thicker skin about when it happens because like, here we go again.
Yeah.
And yet it's just as devastating. I don't want to say I'm used to it after the 8th time of losing an Instagram account. Like like our Instagram account now, I will only post photos of the spa. I will not post photos of the girls anymore because I'm tired. I'm tired of it. I don't want to hear from Meta anymore.
I don't blame you.
Enough of your shit. And again, you allow all the other things.
Yes.
Where's our place? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy someone can wipe out all that work.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Well, I feel like we're bouncing between pod questions and sex work questions, but I'm going to bounce back to sex work for a minute.
Sure.
Do you have a most celebrated moment of being a sex worker that you could share with us?
Oh my gosh, there are so many times I want to celebrate being a sex worker. I try to celebrate that daily, honestly. And it's going to be a mixture, because this answer is going to be a mixture of, sex work questions and podcast questions, because they're so interlinked. But I honestly am just amazed at the opportunities that I have been given due to myself being a sex worker and also just being able to run the show. So some examples are just some like the guest lecturing experiences that I'm able to do. I've gotten asked to be like a keynote speaker at some local conferences here in Vancouver on the topic of sex work. I was able to do and conduct research for the United Nations Women. So really, really fantastic opportunities. I won an allyship award last year at one of the pole dancing competitions in Ontario. So there has been, and obviously all the people that I've met through sex work, it's been such a rewarding journey for me. And it really, I guess one major thing, I guess, that has really made me feel proud is actually the guest lecturing gig that I get at my alma mater, which is Simon Fraser University in British Columbia. I studied criminology back in the day. I majored in that. I graduated from that program, and for the department to come back and discover me and invite me to speak in their classes, it's just wow, a really cool full circle moment. And it really makes me feel really good. It validates me every single day for being a part of this industry. So those are probably my milestones that I have been enjoying.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
it's
really cool. Really, really cool.
That's really neat.
That would be a very proud moment to go back to your old school and speak.
Yeah, and it's happened multiple times now. I'm invited back to speak every semester, so it's been really cool. And just to hear from the students, and also just getting the private messages from the students. They're I'm doing this and blah blah blah, and thank you for answering my questions. It's been really yeah, very validating to me to be able to give back to my school, but also like towards the community as well, because I feel like a lot of folks enjoy the show and admire and acknowledge the work that I've given back to the community. So it's been great. And then I guess like more so on the sex work part, not to glamorize or anything too, but like the the opportunities I've been able to experience, like again, traveling the world with folks, being flown out to certain places, even though those were really early on in my like sugar baby and sex work journey, those have been really beautiful experiences I wouldn't have been able to afford or do by myself. So I consider myself very grateful for those opportunities.
That's wonderful. I think it's absolutely fair and not glamorizing if you have high moments and speak about them proudly. Because as much as there are some bad moments, there are tons of great moments in sex work. There's awesome things that happen in sex work all the time, right? There's success stories of money and success stories of relationships and connections and friendships and life lessons and so many magical things, including building a full career and having all these additional opportunities. Clap for yourself, girl. Don't even be shy about that.
Can I share something really cool that happened like a couple days ago?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so I have like I have a separate channel which is dedicated to my noodles. I have a noodle channel on YouTube.
I was watching it.
For you?
Yes. I have a ramen obsession. What is it? Stripped By Sia or something?
Yeah.
I was like, have you tried the bulldog noodles? Because those are my favorite.
They're my favorite too. I'm a spice hound, but it's my favorite, and it's nothing sex work related at all. It's all just G-rated. We're trying instant noodles today, a different one every week, and I ended up getting a client on Sex Panther through my noodles. This has been happening lately a lot, but he literally paid for a call to watch me make my instant noodles and eat them.
Nice.
It was amazing. I'm like, my worlds are all colliding. Everything's coming together. This is exactly what I want. So
there is a market for everything and everyone.
Literally.
So wicked. I love it. It gave me the giggles. It's so cool.
It was that though, because it was yesterday when I was going through your content that I stumbled upon the noodles that I was like, okay, Riley, stop getting distracted with ramen because I love it and get back to watching her podcast. But I kept going back to the noodles. It was really good.
Well, thank you for supporting. I appreciate that.
It's so fun. I can picture your face, Riley. It's hilarious to me. You're probably so giddy. That is awesome. Well, before we wrap up, I'd love to hear what's next for you, Sia. What is coming up down the pipeline for both you personally, the pod, business, work, all the things? What are you most excited about that's coming ahead?
Yeah, like this year is a big year in so many different ways. I'm going to be gearing up for season 8, which I'm really excited for. I'm super stoked. I won't say anything, but yeah, like season 8 she'll be really exciting, and I'm looking forward for more topics that I'm hoping to tackle that I haven't done yet. I know like over 200 something episodes. I still haven't done all the episodes that I wanted to, so we'll leave that for season 8. So I'm very excited about that. This is the year I'm actually really going full time with my sex work, because a lot of the time I've done a lot of, sex work has been on the side. It's been very supplementary to me. But at the end of last year, I really started taking the reins and actually went part-time at my full-time job. So I've taken a step back from there to really focus on my sex work career and my creator business. So that has been super exciting. And I'm really happy to finally like take the reins on that and really just, have both feet in, which has been a learning moment and also very eye-opening. And gosh, I have so much respect for folks that do this a full freaking time. I tweeted out yesterday that being a hoe is tiring, and I remember wow, everything I'm doing right now is like taking me back to my sugar baby days, but having so much more control with everything that I'm doing, both online and in person. So it's been really exciting. I've been loving everything I've been doing and just how I'm kind of operating that. But I still have lots to learn. So that is another thing I'm excited about. And then in terms of personal, just doing a lot of traveling, more so than usual this year. I have like a trip coming up to China and Singapore that's coming up in a couple of weeks. And then some more, like lots of international travel that I'm hoping to conquer for the full year, and then potentially trying to get pregnant. So that's another thing. So yeah, I'm really excited. Yes. So lots
What
of
a wonderful balance. This year is going to be big for you. That's a lot of stuff. That's a ton of stuff. And they're all such exciting things.
Yes. I'm very
That's
excited.
awesome. I'm so excited for you. I love that.
Yeah.
That's so that's such a perfect balance.
Sounds like a great year.
So good. Some babies, some world adventures, some money making. Like, yes. I love it. The pregnancy stuff sells too, by the way.
Oh yeah, I know. I've been like so excited. Like have had like a lot of like breeding play and like breeding fetishes coming up in my circle a lot lately. I'm like, oh, you guys just wait for that.
You should come do a guest tour at Muse.
I would love to. I would absolutely love to.
That'd be awesome. We would love to
next
have
time I'm going
you.
through Toronto. I'll have to hit you guys up.
That would be wicked. I love it. Thank you so much for your time today. Let everybody know where they can find you. We will put your links in the description below for sure. But tell everyone where's the best place to get in contact with you, watch your content. What's your favorite platform that they subscribe to?
Oh man. Okay, there's like all the things right now. So, for the podcast stuff, strippedbysia.com is where you can find my stuff. You could also find me in any major podcast platform on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all the other stuff in between. You can find me there. If you're looking for sexy content, of course, I got lots of that. I have my website, which is siaoncamera.com. And you can find all of my links there. I'm on Sex Panther. I'm on OnlyFans. I'm on Streammate. I'm on Night Flirt, and soon to be on ManyVids. I have been like just compiling a lot of content and going to be launching that very soon. So you can find all that wonderful X-rated stuff there. And sometimes you can find me in person under the name Kimchi on stage whenever I'm dancing at the local clubs here in Vancouver. And if you were interested in that instant noodle content, it's Sia Slurps on YouTube. You can check that out. Again, it's Sia Slurps on all platforms as well as Instagram. Stripped by Sia on X, Blue Sky, all the things. And I will probably make another separate account as well for my spicy stuff. But I think that's all the things. So
excellent.
So busy. So thank you for taking the time to come on Muse on the mic. We've loved having you.
Absolutely. Boys, you know where to find her. Do what you need to do now. Work it out.
Thank you guys.
Instructions
so much fun.
given. Get this girl monetized, get her paid, get her followers, hit those milestones. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us, Sia. We will talk to you very soon. It was wonderful to have you today.
Thank you.
I am so smitten with her. She is so beautiful, genuine, creative, and my God, she is capitalizing. I love that.
You know what? I was going to use the same word. I'm a smitten kitten. She is just a doll. Like I expected it, but I didn't expect all of that just goodness coming from her. What a dynamic woman. I'm so impressed. It reminds me of the episode we did not too long ago that really featured that wicked thread from Damina Snow that was about how sex workers in general are change makers, law changers, everyone out there, not just influencing, but actually implementing change. And she's such a great example of taking sex work experience and exploding it into a full career, doing amazingly positive things, making money left and right, dealing with the hard stuff head on. I'm such a fan. She's gorgeous. I was like, stop staring at her, focus on the content. She's so sweet and beautiful. I was just like, you said, smitten completely. What a doll.
She is a new friend. And again, expanding our community within the sex work world, I think is just amazing and a great guest to have on.
Absolutely. I've loved this. I hope those that are watching enjoyed this as much as we did. Go follow her on all of the platforms she listed. Be sure to subscribe on her end, ours. Join the Patreon, subscribe to the YouTube, follow us on social media. We'll put all of Sia's links and locations and social media and all the things. She's got a lot of stuff, guys. So go down there, click all those links. We'll put them below as well. And we will see you on the next episode of Muse on the Mic. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Mwah.